Dune Messiah is obviously coming up. I saw they started filming it like a few weeks ago or something, and I was like, okay, how do I feel about that? Because I have to stress, my immediate reaction was not sheer joy. It was more like, as with Dune Part 2, cautious confusion, and this is coming from my trash film trauma that I'm still struggling to cure, and which I don't know that I'll be ever able to get rid of. What I mean is, so many shitty films and shows have made me have very little faith in the industry. 90% of the time, my brain has been programmed to expect either garbage or mediocrity, but never something special. And I suffered from this when Dune Part 2 came out as well. When Dune 1 came out, I wasn't very impressed by it, and then when Dune 2 came out, it took me 2 IMAX watches to let myself relax and actually acknowledge how much I freaking loved it. In the end, I did love it, and now I consider it to be one of the best films of all time. And even with that, even after having been given a masterpiece and a chance to believe again, I still can't let myself. I still can't help being cautious. I know they're making the film, I know it's coming, I know Timothée Chalamet will be in it, and how much I freaking love him, and still, I'm like a beaten puppy that's gotten overly defensive and biting everyone who tries to touch me. And so I kind of try to avoid any news about it. I don't really want to see any stills, I don't want to see any script leaks, I just want to be in the dark. Totally. And I also think this might ultimately give me a better experience of the film when it comes out. I did more or less the same with the previous 2 films, not knowing anything about them as I went into the theater, and this completely unbiased experience is, I think, much more effective to have when watching a film, because this way, without background information making you biased, you kind of cut it 100% slack when it comes to judgment. And then I also wanted to reflect on why I have this negative bias film trauma. Why am I always scared it'll suck? Even when I've been given evidence that it probably won't. Well, I looked through myself and looked, and you might think it's Game of Thrones PTSD, because that was a historic one in the history of series downfalls. But no, for me, actually, the Game of Thrones ending fail was neither new nor unforeseen, because my heart had been broken by other series long before that. And that was the Hobbit trilogy. I won't go into details on it here, but I'll just give you a quick summary as to what happened to me in 2014 when the 3rd Hobbit film came out. So before the Hobbit films were made, there was the world where only the Lord of the Rings existed. And it was a blissful world, because these 3 films were so perfect. And I could not imagine, under any circumstance, that the guy who made these amazing films could ever make something else, especially in the same universe, that turned out to be garbage. It was like a mathematical certainty in my brain, just not possible. And then The Hobbit happened. And my perception of the world of film was then shattered to pieces. And I don't think I've ever recovered from that. I think my brain is still very much confused because of the sudden turn of events that were originally pre-programmed to always turn out well and then suddenly didn't. So I still suffer from the Hobbit syndrome, even though it's been years since then. And because of that, I'm scared that Dune Messiah will be bad, even though Dune Part 2 was a masterpiece. But let's wait and see what happens. Let's see if I will have a reverse trauma.